Tell me and I forget. Show me and I remember. Involve me and I understand. The last part of this statement is the essence of inquiry-based learning. Human beings, from cradle to grave, carry on acts of inquiry.
As a teaching learning approach, it is rather new. Inquiry-based learning was developed in the 1960s as a response to the perceived failure of the more traditional forms of teaching learning. Memorizing facts and information was no longer important. Facts were changing and information was readily available. What was needed was an understanding of how to get and make sense of the mass of information.
An effective inquiry is a complex process of converting information and data into useful understanding that can be widely applied. It puts the learner at the center of an active learning process, and the systemic elements like the teacher and the instructional resources are prepared or aligned to support the learner.
In order to facilitate the inquiry process in a classroom, some teachers adopt an inquiry cycle. It does not specify the one right way, but gives a plan for purposeful inquiry. This plan undergoes constant changes and enhancements. A sample of an inquiry cycle that we are currently working with can be seen in the slide.
There are some fundamental misconceptions due to which schools are reluctant to adopt the inquiry approach, even though its benefits in enhancing student learning are widespread and far-reaching. Before talking further about these misconceptions, let us try to understand what makes up an authentic inquiry.
Any authentic inquiry has to be an act of communication, something that comes naturally to children as they wonder to construct meaning. It should be personally relevant with its genesis in the child's own world, and engaging and meaningful as a child makes sense of the world.
Inquiry in learning need not be in the form of questions. One can easily confuse children's questions of all sorts as inquiry acts. Questions that seek clarifications for what the child does not understand and questions that are part of a classroom discussion cannot be pedagogically classified as inquiries. The most important aspect of an authentic inquiry is that children bring in their interest to understand beyond what they already know, whereas in the case of most classroom questions, the child is only interested in seeking more information.
Nowadays, classrooms increasingly resonate with inquiry, adopting practices where children communicate both verbally and non-verbally. Classroom techniques like interactive writing, learning log, literature discussions are practiced commonly. But in some classrooms, the predominant form of communication is still verbal. Such classrooms fail to take cognizance of different forms of children's expressions and hesitate to adopt the inquiry approach because it is perceived to dilute content and not meet sequenced curricular objectives.
Curriculum expectations in any country are never written in terms of lower order thinking skills alone. It is always a balance of what the child must know, understand, and be able to do. Inquiry promotes genuine and deeper understanding and is therefore not at cross purpose with any curriculum.
Another misconception is schools that want to maintain high scores in standardized tests should not adopt inquiry practices. Standardized tests are designed to test simple recall, understanding, and application of information, whereas inquiry increases the length and breadth of this recall, understanding, and application. Therefore, students who approach standardized tests from an inquiry purpose have high test scores. In any case, schools need to adopt the approach in lower grades where the curriculum expectations are largely determined by the school, so as to develop an inquiring temper among the younger students and sustain that along their senior years.
it is unlikely that there exists a community in which children do not engage in inquiry and adults do not facilitate or support the process. A teacher needs to be an inquirer along with the children, listening, participating, articulating, provoking, guiding, negotiating, and recording the proceedings. It is a fallacy that the teacher need not teach in an inquiry-based classroom or play some kind of a passive role.
Some schools and parents believe that a child's learning cannot be measured since inquiry cannot be graded. While a mark or a letter grade cannot be assigned, an inquiry can be assessed. The assessment of an inquiry is continuous and observable both inside and outside the classroom. Students and teachers generate rubric for inquiry assessment by teacher, by self, and by peers. Some schools, at certain stage of the inquiry process, also elicit feedback on students' learning from the parents, making them active participants in the child's learning and assessment more holistic.
To obtain more information on how we can help your school with inquiry, contact us at info@artoflearning.in.